Hi, I'm Claire and this is my December 2015 book haul part 2. Last time I talked about 7 books that I acquired in December 2015 and now I'm going to talk about 7 more because I went a little bit over the top last month. First, I've got 2 books that I ordered online secondhand, so it's not as bad as all that. First, I have Signal to Noise by Silvia Moreno-Garcia, and this is a book that I've heard a lot about on BookTube SFF recently. This book is set in Mexico City, partly in 2009 and partly in the 1980s. In the 2009 portion of the story, the main character, Meche, comes home to assist her family in her father's funeral. And in the 1980s portion of the narrative, you kind of see her back in the day when she was in high school, and she is super nerdy and geeky about music in particular, and she discovers that way that there is a certain magic in music. She and her friends start experimenting with this musical magic that they found. I'm liking this book a lot so far and I'm hoping I can finish it this week. The other book that I got secondhand was The Recollection by Gareth L. Powell. Now this is another book that I bought because I heard the author speak at a convention, specifically last year at Nine Worlds, and I quite like what he had to say on his panel about why he loved science fiction, so I quickly looked him up at the time and put this book on my wish list. I'll be honest, because I really liked the cover. I'm liking this kind of burning spaceship action right there. So I've had this book on my wish list for literally a month now, so I don't feel too bad that I caved and bought it, especially since it was secondhand. It wasn't too expensive. This is another one that is told in dual timelines. However, it's not one character at different points in their life. It's a whole different set of characters. The first story concerns a man who goes missing in London present day, and then his wife and his brother have to put their difference to the side and kind of team up together to look for him and hopefully save him. And then the second portion of the narrative is set 400 years in the future, and it's about this woman who has to travel a long way home to get back in the good graces of her influential family and convince them to trust her again. And there's also apparently a shady ex-boyfriend in the mix, so we'll see how that turns out. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to this one because I do have a long list, but I'm glad that I got myself a copy. Next, I have The Ship by Antonia Honeywell, and I picked up this one, which is a debut from 2015, because I heard the author speak and then read from this book at a couple of different events. I enjoyed her writing style and I thought that the premise for the book was pretty cool. This is a YA novel that is set in a post-apocalyptic world where everything has basically been flooded, and so in order to survive you have to take to the seas, and our main character is a teenage girl whose dad is really rich, and so with all his money he gets this giant luxury cruise ship built so that he can put his family and him and all the people whom he considers useful or influential or beneficial in some way on the ship, and then they kind of all go and sail into the sunset together and they are safe. And everything he's done in order to keep his daughter safe, and that's his stated aim for this. However, the only person whose opinion he has not asked is his daughter, and his daughter obviously is a teenager, and what she sees is, well, there are a lot of people that can't go on the ship, and I'm going to be on this luxury cruise ship safe when loads of other people are dying, and that's not really okay. And so I think it's a really interesting premise for a book, and I also think this cover is really beautiful. I don't know how well you can see. Next we have another book that's been on my wish list for a very long time, and that is Karen Memory by Elizabeth Bear. I don't know why I didn't order this book sooner. We follow the story of Karen, who is a young woman making her own way in in life in 19th century Seattle, and she works at a fairly upmarket brothel, and one day trouble erupts in the form of a young woman who begs for the girl's protection, and she comes in heavily wounded, and she is directly followed by a man who has a device that might control minds, and then there is more mayhem and more murders. I've actually never read any full novel of Elizabeth Bear's. I've listened to her on about a bajillion podcasts and panels, but I've never read anything of hers, and I'm quite excited to take the plunge. And finally, one of the gifts I received for Christmas this year was a £25 voucher for Waterstones, so I went in and I spent it, and it was awesome. I did go into the store with a big list of books that I was hoping I could get my hands on, and most of them are books that are eligible for the 2015 Hugos that I hadn't read yet and just wanted to get my hands on, but it was just after Christmas and Waterstones was quite depleted, so I had to pick things that were actually there, which was fine. There was still a really great selection, but there's not really a rhyme or reason to picking these books. They just were there and actually looked really good. The first thing that I got was Lagoon by Nadia Corfor. I've heard really good reviews of this book. This is a kind of weird fantasy type of novel, from what I can tell, which is set in Lagos, the capital of Nigeria, and basically the ocean starts behaving real weird, and we look at it through the eyes of a few different characters. There's a marine biologist, a soldier, and also a rapper. It sounds like it's gonna be real weird, and so I'm looking forward to that. Next, I got Midnight Never Come by Marie Brennan, and she is the author of the Lady Trent Diaries books, which are these historical fantasy with dragons books that I quite like. So I'm quite happy to try a kind of like slightly different fantasy from her. This is set in the time of Elizabeth I, the last of the Tudor monarchs, and it's maybe more of a courtly fantasy than a fantasy with loads of dragons, but that's just as good anyway. And finally, last but certainly not least, I also picked up Nimona by Noel Stevenson. I was so excited to pick up this book. I've already read it and it was amazing and I loved it, and it's my first 5-star read of 2016, so I'm quite excited about this. This is very highly recommended for everybody. I will be gushing more about this book in my wrap-up for January. So that's it. This was the second part of my December book haul. I'm going to take a little break from buying books now, at least in January and February, because I already have my TBR pretty much worked out for those months. So let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, or what you think about them, and do still give me recommendations if you think there's anything I would like based on those books, because I can always look them up on my library's Overdrive. If you'd like to see more from me, you can check the sidebar right here for more videos. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for more videos from me every week. I've been Claire, thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.